Sony Pictures is currently working on a Kraven the Hunter feature film. This solo film is set in the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, and new details have emerged in its production and casting. Here's what we know about Kraven the Hunter so far. A Kraven film has been in the pipeline for several years now. In fact, development of the current film began even before Tom Holland's debut as Spider-Man. And little by little, we have learnt about the cast and potential release date. The Kraven movie will be the next in Sony's live-action slate of movies centered on the origin stories of villains and anti-heroes from Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. The first movie was 2018's Venom, starring Tom Hardy in the titular role. We then had the sequel Venom: Let There Be Carnage, which was released last October. Following that, we had Morbius, starring Jared Leto. Morbius was only the second Spider-Man villain to be getting the movie treatment. As such, it wasn't a surprise when Sony was eager to get the ball rolling in earnest on Kraven. Whilst Sergei Kravinoff, aka Kraven the Hunter, is one of Spider-Man's deadliest foes, he's also one of the most unique. As such, the impressive Hunter is the perfect choice to receive a live-action adaptation on the big screen. Kraven the Hunter story. The writer for the movie, Richard Venk, has revealed a few details regarding the story and plotline. Venk revealed that Kraven's story is arguably the biggest and most dynamic story from the comics and features an epic showdown with Spider-Man. In an interview with the Discussing Film podcast, Venk has said that he'd like to see Kraven and the web-slinger coming face-to-face in the film. I think that's where we're all circling, is that this is Kraven's last hunt, and whether this is the precursor to that movie, whether it will include it, we're talking about those things. While things could change, Kraven's last hunt would certainly be worthwhile, especially if it includes Spider-Man himself. It's also possible that Kraven's debut film could have its focus on the Hunter himself and his origins, with Spider-Man being featured in a potential sequel. Venk did mention the possibility of the film being a two-part narrative, MCU connection. As far as any MCU connections the film might have, Sony has maintained that their SPUMC is adjacent to the MCU, with Spider-Man being the bridge. As an example, Michael Keaton's Vulture from the MCU Spider-Man Homecoming featured in Morbius's end credits. It's certainly possible that Kraven could feature other Spider-Man characters who've spent time in the MCU as well. Cast. Sony has confirmed that Kraven will be played by actor Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's certainly no stranger when it comes to superhero roles, playing the titular hero in the Kick-Ass films as well as the MCU's Quicksilver in Avengers: Age of Ultron. This also falls into line with early reports that Sony was looking for an actor resembling Joel Kinnaman for their leading role, and Taylor Johnson certainly seems to fit that bill. However, there were reports that Keanu Reeves was approached by Sony for the role as well. Release date. Speaking of when we can catch Kraven on the big screen, you'll have to wait until 2023. The movie is scheduled for release on January the 13th, 2023. Kraven is directed by J.C. Chandler, who also directed Netflix's Triple Frontier, with the script coming from Art Markham, Matt Holloway, and Richard Venk. Kraven will be Sony's fourth villain project, following the success of Tom Hardy's Venom and Venom: Let There Be Carnage, and Morbius, of course.